it's not an intelligence gap. It's an emotional gap.
Hmm.
The way I look at it is that society, the way that we're brought up, for most of us at least, it's like we're trained from the get-go to be good employees. So it's like, like your parents, they teach you how to be a good employee, get good grades so you can, go and get a good job for somebody. Even our schooling systems, they teach you how to be a good employee. They don't teach you like the fundamentals of being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. Nobody teaches that in school. So the way society brings us up is like, we seek security. We seek those like benefits. We seek the stability of like a consistent paycheck. We like the idea of working for like 30 years and then saving up enough money, and then on the back end, hoping to retire and have enough in a savings account or having a pension to rely on.
Taylor, thanks so much for jumping on here, man.
Chris, thanks for having me, brother. Super pumped to speak to you finally in person. I've been chatting with you back and forth for a while now, and I'm just pumped to be here with you.
Dude, I'm pumped to have you here, man. I found you on the old Bigger Pockets podcast. I say Bigger Pockets or Bigger Podcast? Bigger Pockets. I hope I didn't say Bigger podcast. But and that was such a valuable like hour and a half of just learning about what you do, what you've done, where you've come from. That was, if anyone has any issues or any second guesses about what to do, they need to watch that video.
No, absolutely, man. And thanks for that too. We, at first I was kind of more introverted and I was like a little bit scared about sharing my story, but it's amazing. Like once you share your story, like how much you can actually outreach, inspire others. And so now I use my story as like, it's a selling piece. It's like, I love sharing my story with others because I want to, show others what's out there, what's possible, how you can innovate and like change your life in a relatively short period of time if you just kind of believe in yourself. You don't have to come from, like a rich background or immaculate background. Like we can come from, normal middle class or American and then, work hard and make our way, find our American dream. So love sharing that story and I'm excited to be here with you and kind of dig into that more.
Yeah. So for people that don't know and haven't seen that, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and a little bit of that backstory of how you got there.
Absolutely. So, I come, again, normal kid off the block, born and raised in Fresno, California. I didn't really know much. It's this typical rich dad, poor dad situation where my dad was a government worker, and I was just taught to, the way you succeed in life is you get good grades, you go to school, you go to a good college. That's why you get good grades. And then from a good college, you get good grades, so you can go and get a good high-paying job. So that's what I did. I followed the traditional model, and service was always something that was kind of ingrained to us. Like I have a big love for my country and everything that's provided to us. So service was always something on the forefront as well. So ideally, the best situation for me was going to West Point. That was always my dream. So high school, everything was just tailored around how am I going to get into West Point? Because I don't have connections. I don't come from a military family. I come from like a school where people don't even know what West Point is, or no one's ever gone to a school like that from where I'm from. So it's like, how the heck do I do this? I don't know anybody that's done it. So it was like same thing. I was like, I had to figure it out on my own. And luckily we barely inched in. I somehow got lucky and I got a slot in. They accepted me, even though I'm sure there's more impressive people out there, but maybe they bought my story. Did my thing at West Point, double majored in business management and Chinese language, and then commissioned. I was in the Army for the time after that, mainly doing at the 82nd Airborne over there in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shooting artillery, jumping out of planes. So pretty much, again, all I've known since high school is the Army. And West Point, they brainwash you a little bit. So it's just like, follow the rules, and you get by. So it was a huge pivot for me to go from like government employee, soldier to entrepreneur, real estate investor, huge mindset pivot. It's one of the things I talk about the most is mindset. And I think it's what holds most people back. So for me, it was overcoming those obstacles, those fears, those self-doubts, because like, who am I to like want a better, climb that socioeconomic ladder or want to be a multimillionaire? Like, who am I like to try to do that? I don't come from any of those backgrounds, but something that I just felt like I needed to do. The Army was great, loved my service, but I needed a little more out of life. And what was really, I think the crucible or the moment was that I knew I needed to like adjust was just my timepiece. I was gone so much from, the Army just takes a lot of time from you being gone, deployments, training rotations, and it wasn't the lifestyle I wanted for my wife and for my future kids. And like we were talking about earlier, I do have my firstborn son here due in June. So
major congrats.
Thanks, brother. So I needed to change my life. I needed to change the pace of the direction I was going. So fell into real estate. And I don't know what, you could ask me why I picked real estate. Honestly, I spent like a year, like how the heck am I going to, make money and better my life? How am I going to provide a better future for my family? I fell on real estate just from recording or listening to podcasts like this, reading books, doing just a ton of due diligence and research. And it seemed like real estate was a common denominator across multiple levels. It was like, you either got to start a business somewhere or you get into real estate, create an app or something. So
yeah,
to me, real estate made the most sense. It was like at the forefront of most millionaires and what they have in their portfolio. So I put all my chips on the table on real estate. 2.5 years later, now we're sitting at 32 doors, kicking off, roughly 15K in net passive income. Changed my life. And from there, now I'm getting out of the Army here in 4 months, and I'm going to be a full-time real estate entrepreneur, real estate professional. So I'm living my dream. I'm following my passions. I'm doing everything that I set out to do. I think it just comes down to taking that first action. So that's a little bit about me, a little long-winded. Sorry about that, but
no,
that's me in a nutshell.
That's incredible, man. Yeah, you're doing it. How many doors? You said 32?
Yes, sir. 32 doors. And, we've done a little bit of everything. We have doors in North Carolina, up in South Dakota, down here in Florida. So we kind of shifted and adapted, have a diverse portfolio of kind of more cash flow positions, more appreciation positions, short-term rentals, mid-term rentals, long-term rentals. Like you name it, we've done it all. Single family, small multi. Biggest thing I've done now is an 8-unit commercial, nice. Residential commercial, so apartment. But yeah, every time like I think I want to do something, I just go out there and I'll try it. Like this year, one of our goals is a hotel. So
really?
We put in our very first letter of intent on a hotel this year.
Wow.
So that one didn't pan out, but it isn't going to stop me. Like that was our first letter of intent, and that was going to be a big syndication. So that's our next step. Like we're, whatever we set our minds to, we just go out there, take action, and we try to get it done.
That's sweet. Now I know you own and operate several different businesses within the real estate realm. So what are those?
Yes, sir. So first and foremost, we have our home buying company. Now, that's what I'm kind of repping right now, Black Knight Property Solutions, founded by myself, one of my buddies at the Academy at West Point. We decided to create a full home buying business down here in the Treasure Coast of Florida. And that's the bread and butter of real estate right there. We're finding good deals. And then, we decide the exit strategy, whether we're flipping them, wholesaling them, or keeping them as buy and holds. The heart of that is finding good deals. So that's what we're focusing on now. We're spending marketing budget on that. We have systems for that, virtual assistants. So that's the main gig. Now, didn't start that way, of course. I was out there like in bigger pockets. You heard me walking my dog. So it took me a while to get to where I'm at now. But now, we have a full business marketing budget. Back then it was like, I'm going to wear every single hat and walk the dogs. I didn't have the funds or the know-how to start a real estate business. But now that's a full-fledged business. And again, I also joined up with Paul Wakeham over at townsquare.com. And we created new technology, and it's going to revolutionize the world of wholesaling. It's a dispositions platform, so wholesalers can dispo their deals.
Nice.
Not only that, but it's an off-market MLS. So this is going to be like the next Zillow, essentially, for off-market real estate. So wholesalers can go on there, put their deals on there, network, find more buyers, network with other wholesalers to help get their deals sold, find new buyers to add to their buyers list, almost manage their listings like a CRM as well. And then buyers can go on there, find all the discounted off-market deals. Everybody wins. It's a marketplace. So
that's awesome. I was at the local RIA meeting this past week, and they were talking about really, especially right now, off-market. And it's probably always been that way. You can probably attest to that. And I can't wait to dive into that some more when people hear about the dog walking story. The off-market is king when it comes to finding good deals. And everyone's talking about that. And now you're creating a platform, like you said, the equivalent to Zillow for off-market. That's next level.
100%. It's what we've come to realize. And again, I jumped on as essentially employee number one. I got to give credits to Paul first. He's the main guy, but jumped on because I saw the opportunity. I was like, dude, we can revolutionize the world of off-market real estate because it's probably one of the last frontiers that's still like disjointed. You look at on market and everything is like, Zillow, Redfin, like everything's pretty cut and clear. It's like straightforward there, but off market, it's like if you want to find off market deals, there's no like singular marketplace to go and do that. It's like you just need to network, find a bunch of different wholesalers, or do your own off market lead generation. There's no like singular player that's like bringing everybody together into a marketplace. So if we're able to bring all those disjointed players together on our platform, just like Zillow or Redfin, everyone's going to come there to buy their off-market deals, and everybody wins. Wholesalers get more eyes on their deals, get more buyers. They're able to probably charge maybe more because there's more competition, and then vice versa. Buyers, if you're not, let's say you're in California, you want to buy one of my deals in Florida, are you going to come down to Florida and network, or are you going to just reach out to somebody on Bigger Pockets or a RIA? It's like we're going to change the game. Like we're bringing the off-market online.
That's awesome. And now the last one is a mentorship, you said, right?
Yes, sir. So that's the last thing we did. And that's the one I'm like most super excited about, right? Because with mentorship in our programs, the real estate legacy launch, now we're changing lives, which is truly like my actual like real passion is like, we've created this for ourselves. Like now let's spread the knowledge, let's spread that wealth, that love to other people, because like what we know and what we've accomplished, it changes the trajectory of like your whole family's, your whole generation's like life. Like the amount of properties and equity wealth that we've created is something that transcends me. It's going to pass on to my kid that's due in June, and potentially his kids, or I don't know, maybe they'll get even like savvier than me and 1031 that into crazy Miami sky rises or something. So it's like, especially like you're just breaking the mold of generations. If you, I come from, we're third generation. I'm Asian American or half, came over here working on railroads. Like 3 generations later, we're owning a lot of American real estate.
That's
we're
awesome.
changing the game for our family. So anybody can do this, no matter what your background is, no matter where you came from, no matter what you've been through, no matter what stage you are in life, whether you're a 19-year-old guy or you're a 40-year-old guy with a full family and everything. Like no matter where you start, as long as you start and you take that application, like you can jumpstart something very similar and get similar results. So that's why I'm mostly passionate about the legacy launch, is because we're creating legacies, and we're going to launch that. So it's an 8-week course, and I teach those. It's just me. I don't have any like lieutenants that run that for me. I keep that one pretty close to heart. But
that's awesome.
We've been booking up classes, and people are already getting results. Our first class launched in February, and we got guys closing on some houses already.
That's huge. Well, congrats. You wear a lot of hats, do a lot of things. Yeah, definitely changing some lives. Well, before we go any deeper, what are we drinking? What's your brew?
So I told Chris we're going to do Coronas today because, for one, we got to keep the beach vibes up since we're down here and
I wear my I think this is palm trees. I don't know. I got it at the golf store a while back. I'm like, what kind of tropical hat do I have? Well, this is all I got.
Like we gotta keep. I dig like the laid back, the beach vibes, like all of Corona's marketing. Like we're gonna sit on this beach, we're gonna enjoy a Corona, and we're just gonna sit back. We're gonna relax and enjoy life. So that's why we're sipping on some Coronas.
Well, I try to stuff this lime in and spray all my electronics with lime juice. You said that you're doing $15K a month in passive net income, right?
That's correct.
A lot of people would consider that financial freedom. It basically probably 99.9% of people in the world, right? I mean, that's awesome. So take them through the story, walk them through your life, starting with walking the dog. Because that is just, I love that. I'll never get over that.
Absolutely. So, the biggest hurdle, again, when I was starting off, I was brand new into the Army, straight out of college, commissioned second lieutenant. I didn't have a ton of money to fall back on. I mean, I literally had maybe a couple months of paychecks at that point. I had a career starter loan, so I had about 35 G's that I took out in a loan to kind of like jumpstart my career. So I was trying to figure out what to do, right? So I already knew that capital would be an early issue I'm going to encounter because most people were taught to look at real estate in like a very black and white area. Like it's like you want to buy a house, you have to go get a loan. You have to talk to a bank. You have to get pre-qualified. You have to put 20% down and you close on your house. So I was like, I can't do that. I can buy one house maybe and then I'm stuck. So there's got to be other ways to go out there and do this, right? So that's when I was really looking at like off market, like generating my own leads off market to find discounted deals, not buying at retail. That's when I also got into creative finance, leveraging strategies to allow me to leverage and get myself into deals with, good terms that benefited me or like little to no down payment situations so I can actually get into the deal. Or else, young, what was I, like 25, 24? I'm not getting into those deals if I were to try to put all that capital down. And I'm sure most Americans are in a similar position. Like we don't have $1 million that we can just spend on real estate. Like, we have to grind and hustle in our 9 to 5s just to get enough to scrape by and get maybe one property. So I started off literally just doing exactly like you said, like walking my dog, looking for those off-market deals. And, we look for different things. It's just like driving for dollars, which is a common like investor strategy. I was doing just something similar. You look for signs of distress, like signs of vacancy, signs of just wear and tear. Like we're looking for problem properties that maybe we can provide solutions for. So my very first creative finance deal, I made 6 figures on. So what we did was, yeah. So I did a couple of deals before this one. Before this one, I did a VA loan house hack. I can talk about that too later. And did my first Burr. So this is like technically my third deal, but my first creative finance deal that I sourced myself. Mm-hmm. So again, walked my dog, and this house is actually literally in the same subdivision as the house I lived in at the time. So at that point, I noticed it was vacant, noticed it needed a little bit of work. So wrote down the address, and nobody's home, so I can't door knock it. So I got home, I skip traced it, and I called him. No answer. But then the guy calls me back same day, and he's like, dude, so glad you called me because this property is an absolute headache for me, right? So the story was like he had the house with his ex-wife and they still own title together, but it's his ex-wife. They didn't really have the best relationship. And so I think it was just bleeding him. It was like bleeding him $1,000 a month. He's like, dude, this is a headache. I want to cut ties to this thing. Like, I don't even care. Like, I just need out of it because it's bleeding me dry. And so I think the success story here was how I pitched because, I think your story sells is like, there's going to be 1,000 different investors and how do you know which one to choose? I think they just end up choosing the one that they can relate to or the one that they end up liking the most. Yeah. So a lot of people get hung up on that. Like, how do I compete with the hedge funds? How do I compete with the big dogs in my market? I tell them, dude, your story is going to sell way better. So I sold him my story. I was like, hey man, I'm Taylor. I'm your neighbor. Like, I live in this community. I'm like a good, I'm a good citizen, like, in this community. I would love to buy this house, for one, to create create some passive income and, some financial freedom for myself and my family. I'm a young Army guy. I'm pretty dedicated to service, and, a family man. I'm trying to just support a family here. And again, would love to purchase your house so that, it would help out my family, help out the community. I live here. I walk by your house every day. I would love to see it, renovated and with a nice family in there. And, the main thing here is, like, I want to solve your problem. And that's how we close most of our deals. We're solving problems. So by solving his problem, he was open to, my terms and, like, how we wanted to structure this deal, because he was focused on the problem at hand, which was a property that was bleeding him $1,000 a month with his ex-wife. I think he probably hated. So he wanted to just break those ties. So my pitch was pretty easy. I was like, well, I can get this property off your hands in like a week, maybe 2 weeks. And I pitched sub 2. Mind you, nice. I didn't know really what the hell sub 2 exactly was. I was like, I read about this on Google and I know it's really good. So I knew enough from doing my research and talking to some other sub 2 investors, like, how the logistics of it work. I've never done one before, but I knew enough to speak about it intelligently and was able to, like, navigate those kind of tricky waters that are involved with sub 2 to get to that deal to closing. So the numbers on this is, like, I assumed the pre-existing mortgage at $100,000. Now the house now is worth like $225, I would say. And so essentially that was it. I said, I'll assume your mortgage. That was the purchase agreement. That was the offer. Yeah. So essentially I paid like $1,000 to a closing company or a title company to, do the transaction, transfer the paperwork, the deed into my name. And then boom, I picked up a house for $225, assumed a mortgage at $100,000.
And that's the sub 2. You're just assuming the mortgage, for those that don't know.
Yep. Sub 2 is an acronym. It's subject to the pre-existing mortgage. And what that means is you're assuming the property with the pre-existing mortgage. We're not changing the intricacies of the financing at all. It stays in the seller's name. This mortgage payments still get paid to the same bank. Literally, you're just being added on as a third party onto that mortgage, and you make the payments on behalf of the seller. So you're essentially assuming liability for those mortgage payments. And why is this awesome? Why is sub 2 awesome? It's my favorite strategy, but it's like, boom. For one, you don't have to go out and qualify for your own loan. You know what a pain in the butt it is to qualify for a home loan, especially when you're trying to do like 30, like me. So boom. You don't have to qualify for your own loan. Your credit, even if you have like no credit or crappy credit, sub 2 doesn't matter. You're just assuming that liability. For number 2, most likely they're pretty far down the amortization process. When you go and get a loan, those like sneaky guys on Wall Street, the first 7 years of your mortgage payment, they're mostly interest. You're paying mostly interest, front-loaded. And so when you pick up a property, let's say it's already 7 years down the road or 10 years, they've already paid off all the interest. Now all your payments, you're hitting all that principal. You're hitting all that equity. You don't have to wait around for all that interest to go through.
It's beautiful.
And then third is like with sub 2, the terms you can structure however you want. You pick up where they left off. So for this guy, I didn't need a down payment. I didn't need to figure out where I was going to get money from because I didn't need it. It was like, boom, I just take this on sub 2. Granted, this is a unicorn deal, y'all. Just so you know, like most people, I mean, it's hard to pitch sub 2. This is a trickier one to pitch, but most people, I've done a good handful of sub 2 now. Most people, they need something down, like they need something down up front, or like they want some more of that equity. So typically if like, let's say a guy was selling for $300K and the mortgage is $200K, they want some more of that equity. So you have to figure out a way how to compensate them for that. But this is my third deal at the time. Picked up over 6 figures of equity So what I did was I went in there and I renovated the property, cost me like $20,000, paid that out of pocket. And on the back end, I refinanced it. So I did like a sub 2 on the acquisition side, and I did on like a Burr on the back end. So I kind of did like a sub Burr. I'll make that up. Sub Burr. And so when I was able to refinance it, I got a new loan in place that's in my LLC's name. But here's the benefits. So normally it makes sense to keep the financing structure in the seller's name, but it made sense for me here because there's such a deep pool of equity. I was able to tap into that and almost profit like a flip. So on the back end, I was able to tap into that equity. I paid myself back to the rehab, and I profited like $35,000. And I had a brand new renovated property with 25% equity built in it still that was cash flowing. So it's like, what the heck? There's like so many wins. So that one deal, I could probably say that one deal that could change somebody's life by just doing one deal like that.
35,000 is more than most people make in a year.
100%. And that's that's one deal, dog walk.
One dog walk. So that was your third deal. So the first one was a house hack, which you bought a house, rented it out to some friends in the rooms, right? And live for free, which is the beauty of house hacking. The second was a Burr, you said.
Yes, sir.
So for people that don't know, what is a Burr?
Yep. Burr is an acronym. It simply stands for buy, renovate, rent, refinance, and repeat. So Burr. And I love Burrs too. It's a way to essentially get an infinite return for your money if you do your numbers right. So I can go into the details of that first Burr too if you're interested.
I am. I got my lime in, dude. I did have to clean up a bunch of lime juice everywhere, but yeah, go for it.
Let's do it, man. So I'll start with my house hack a little bit. I got back from a deployment and I wanted to buy my very first property. So if you're a veteran, or even if you're not, FHA is a great loan product. You can buy a house, leverage a little to no down payment at all, get into a property and house hack, which is like essentially turning your primary into an investment and offset your living expense, or even completely eliminate your living expense. So I don't know how much people out there are paying in rent, but imagine if you just didn't have to pay rent anymore. Like, it's nuts. So that's exactly what we did. And back then the market was different, mind you, but I bought my very first house for like $95,000. Almost shit my pants because I was so nervous because I was never financed anything in my life. It was even though it was a $95,000. People have cars more expensive than that house. But I bought that house and moved in a roommate who his rent was $600 for that room. My mortgage at 2.75 interest with zero down was like $550. So effectively, I was like, I was like profiting a little bit by living there for like a year. So crazy. So for people don't know, like military, we get paid BAH, which is your basic allowance for housing. So that we get like a housing stipend essentially. So I was pocketing that entire housing stipend each month, and it allowed me to pool together enough resources to do my very first Burr. So that's how I'll segue into my Burr here, because the key for me to save up that little pool of money was doing the house hack first. And again, VA loan, zero down. And I actually negotiated so the seller covered all the closing costs. I actually got a little check for $200 to move into my house. So it was pretty sick. To this day, mind you, I've never paid a cent of my own money into that mortgage. Because as soon as I left, I got a tenant in there pretty much immediately. And right now it's renting at $1,250, and the mortgage is fixed. I think it went up a little bit from property taxes going up and whatnot, but still, if the mortgage is under $600, I rent it for $1,250. So and I never paid a dime into that property. So that's it. House hacking is a super easy way for people to buy property, live in there for a while, turn it into a rental on the back end. Yeah. Or, just stay in there and house hack it and then try to eliminate your living expense altogether. So
that's awesome.
Love that, dude. But again, saved up all that cash to do my first Burr. And again, I knew about Burr from reading and theoretically. Dude, I know the intricacies of it, not really. But I was like, I think I get this enough, and the numbers make sense to me. So this Burr, I purchased off Courthouse Auction for $94,000, and I put like 25K into that rehab. And then on the back end, I think it had appraised for like 180, I think at the time. It's worth like maybe 215 now, but at the time it appraised for 180. But boom, at 180, you do that cash out refinance on the back end. You pay out. I had a hard money construction loan, so I was able to pay off my construction loan, pay myself back for the down payment, and I essentially recycled my entire capital. I had to put every dime that I saved into that deal. It was like 35 grand. I put it all into that deal. It was like going to the casino and you put all your chips on red or something like that.
Oh yeah, you
Except,
feel it.
yeah, I was feeling it, but I was hot. I was on fire. So, well, I mean, it was we're doing calculated risk, though. I mean, that's all up to chance.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I didn't just send it like complete YOLO, but I had like a lot of spreadsheets. I had my contract. I did my due diligence. My contract was lined up. Everything was like planned out to a T. I'm a big planner, so it was a very calculated risk. But still, I mean, everything I had saved, emptied that bank account, boom, into that first deal. But my numbers were correct. On the back end, I was able to cash out, refinance, pay off that original note, pay myself back my down payment. So now on the back end, I got my 35 G's back. I got a brand new renovated rental property. And I think the mortgage is locked at like 900 something, like 930 or 950. And it rents for like 16 something. So
Jeez.
Another like insane, like little cash flow property.
Yeah.
And with a Burr, with numbers like that, infinite return on investment because you don't leave any dollars in. So your cash on cash is infinite. You can't even calculate it. So nuts, dude. Another deal that can just change your life just doing one Burr.
That's amazing. Now, there's a lot of like mental roadblocks. Everyone gets on social media, sees everyone doing this. They all think that they need a bunch of capital or whatever. Debunk some of the common myths that are out there for people to get started doing this that are holding people back, like the needing capital, being too young, and any others that you as a professional have seen or run into.
There's a lot of roadblocks, man. And that comes back to the mindset piece, which is something I now kind of integrate into my course because I realize like the importance of mindset. And for a lot of people, I think it's not an intelligence gap. It's an emotional gap. The way I look at it is that society, the way that we're brought up, for most of us at least, it's like we're trained from the get-go to be good employees. So it's like, like your parents, they teach you how to be a good employee, get good grades so you can, go and get a good job for somebody. Even our schooling systems, they teach you how to be a good employee. They don't teach you like the fundamentals of being a business owner or being an entrepreneur. Nobody teaches that in school. So the way society brings us up is like, we seek security. We seek those like benefits. We seek the stability of like a consistent paycheck. We like the idea of working for like 30 years and then saving up enough money, and then on the back end, hoping to retire and have enough in a savings account or having a pension to rely on.
And the health.
So in the health, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, to think like an investor, we need to break that mold almost entirely, right? So, I mean, I went through this firsthand, being a government employee or being brainwashed, being, full-time soldier into like, all right, how do we kind of think for ourselves here a little bit? So now it's like, you want to think like an investor? Okay. As an investor, as an entrepreneur, it's you eat what you kill. There's nobody that's just going to give you money just because you're showing up. All right. So now it's like, you have to perform, which scares people, right? There's nothing's guaranteed. Number two is like, you got to take calculated risks. If you're an investor and you're not putting your money into that Burr, if you're not out there shooting offers, your life's not going to change. you have to go out there, take those risks, and you have to be able to execute like that. As an investor, you got to make very quick decisions. Like, when you look at a deal, you got to either close it or move on, or else somebody else is going to pick it up. So you have to move quickly, take action, and kind of think outside the box a little bit. I mean, for me, it's great that now I have like a good network, people around me that are doing a similar thing. But when I was in Fayetteville on the streets, I didn't have a ton of people around me that knew what I was doing there. I mean, when I told people I was going to get out of the Army and be a full-time just real estate guru or whatever, they're like, dude, you're nuts.
Yeah, no one believes it. Yeah.
And then nobody, they don't believe it unless they see it. So when you tell somebody I'm going to be an entrepreneur, they're like, or like, I'm going to do real estate. They're like, oh, okay, you're going to go be another one of those people that gets their license and tries to be an agent and like just, fizzles out. So a lot of people, they just don't see it unless like they don't like really believe in you unless they see you. So now that I'm in a position that I'm in and I have a proven, track record of success, now people think I'm legit. Back then, they probably just thought I was crazy. So
well, they have to think you're legit because you are. I mean, look what you're doing, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. And even I still look at myself as a small fish. I mean, there's still so much more to accomplish out there. And there's guys that are like actually like super legit. I'm still relatively a small fish, but our story is just beginning. Like everything we've done up so far, I call it the prelude, right? We just wrote the prelude. Now we're going to write the book. So like there's a lot for us to prove, a lot for us to accomplish still. And we're going to get to those levels. Like we want to be the next big, big time home buying company. I want to be the next, like, thought leader in the real estate, industry. So, I believe like if you believe it, you have to have faith even when nobody else sees it. If you have faith, you'll get there. You just take the right actions. You keep believing, you be consistent, be disciplined, like it's going to come. So, then maybe next time when we chat, I'll be in a completely different place. I'll be, the next step, the next, version of me that I want to be.
Yeah.
So, that going back to that main block though, is like, it's just the mindset piece, man. It's like, you got to be able to break that mold or at least switch hats, like know when to think like an employee and then know when to think like an investor.
That's good.
So you just got to be cognizant, be aware of that. Because sometimes I catch myself with both. Like to be a good employee, you got to, follow the rules. You got to follow into the chain of command. You got to know your place. And then like when I put my investor hat on, it's like, all right, like I'm in the driver's seat now. Like let's lock and load because nothing's going to get done unless I'm driving it or I have a system set up where somebody else is doing it too. So
now, how old were you when you did the first house hack? Were you 21?
25. 25. Yeah. Okay. So when I was in my young 20s, and looking back, I definitely wish, because the most, like I would say, valuable component with real estate is time. It's just the time component. The best time, they always say the best time to buy real estate was yesterday. So I kind of wish I started earlier, but I was so like busy being a cadet. For me, I'm not like the smartest guy. So it took like all of my brain power just to like get out of there and graduate. So I didn't have the time to like start a real estate business back then. But, if I did, I wish I would have, because man, like imagine now everybody's looking back into like, when was that? Like 2019 or 2018. It's like, what if I bought real estate back then?
Yep.
Shoot, with the prices the way they are, you might be a millionaire by now. So yeah.
So you're never too young. 25, most people get started investing in real estate. They're kind of old school. Not until they're like late 30s, 40s. You hear some of your friends' parents finally buying a beach house they're going to rent out. It's like, nah, dude, you got started right from the jump. Right from the jump.
Absolutely. And, my 2 cents on that is like, again, age is just a number. Like you can it's just about action. Like if you can take action when you're 19 years old, you can take action when you're 50 years old. I know people on both ends of the spectrum that are doing a tremendous amount of action in whatever phase of life they're in. It's never too late or too early to get started. I know 19-year-old kids making 6 figures from flipping houses. So it's like, dude, 19-year-old kid, anything's possible, man.
So talk about creative financing a little bit. I know everyone says, oh, I need X amount of dollars to get started, or, I don't have enough in my bank account to get started investing. What would you tell someone that if they want to be right now and they're like, hey, man, I don't have enough money to start investing in real estate? What would you say?
Yeah, I love that you said that, because when I do my discovery calls for my real estate legacy launch program, I ask them about this question. I say, here's 3 pillars to a real estate business. It's finding deals, analyzing deals, and access to capital. So I ask them, which one do you think is most important? Which one's holding you back? Like, what can we help you with? And especially my younger guys and gals, the answer is, it's what you'd expect. It's access to cash. If I only had like the capital, I could do all these deals. I'm like, man, no, that's a fallacy. It's not true, because I mean, look at what we did, right? I mean, we didn't come from money. I was a government employee. I wasn't making a ton of money. And we were able to do all this. And we didn't let access to capital hold us back. You just have to kind of realize what your shortcomings might be and supplement that with a solution. So I tell them that the most important things is finding good deals and having to know how to underwrite those deals. And so here's the analogy that we use to like break that stereotype. We say, let's say, we have a brand new Ferrari. I want to sell it to you, right, at $50,000.
I'll buy it.
Why would you buy it from me, and why? What's your answer?
I buy the Ferrari for a brand new Ferrari for $50K.
Yep.
Yeah, cash. Let's do it.
Why?
Why? Because we all know the value is so much more.
Exactly. I mean, you're here with me. You're thinking like a producer. You'd be surprised. Most Americans, they don't think like producers yet. They still, like I mentioned, the employee thing, they're still thinking like consumers. So they go, no, I wouldn't buy it. Like 80%.
Even as a consumer, dude, like I'll take that deal any day.
Like,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. They go, no, I wouldn't buy it. And they say, oh, it's, I don't need it, or 50,000 is too much. I'm like, all right, now look at this through the lens of a producer. Now, through the lens of a producer, you look at this opportunity, and on the free market here, that Ferrari, depending on the model, you probably sell that for $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you offload that, if you buy that car, you can flip it, and then you make $200K just like that. And even if you didn't have the cash, which maybe you don't, I'd tell you, if you go to anybody in your Rolodex, anybody in your phone, tell them that you have this opportunity, they're going to jump on it. They're going to give you that money. You can pay them some interest or whatever, and then still do this deal. Now, look at this from a real estate. We're going to use this example and apply it to real estate. So what I teach people is, now, you already know this is a good deal because it's a Ferrari. You need to be able to do the same thing with real estate. I want you to go out there, look at a building, look at a house, and you tell me, all right, I already know this building's worth $1 million. Holy cow, I can get this locked up for $600K. Like, I found this deal. I analyzed it. I know that it's a good deal. And even if you don't have the cash, I'm telling you, if you pitch that deal to me or anybody else in your network, they see the numbers, they're going to give you the money to do it. Yeah. Money will never be an issue if you can provide value, if you can provide those opportunities. So
that's good.
That's the biggest fallacy I get try to break for people. Like, cash is not what's holding you back. It's just you.
All right. So this leads me to my next question. You are you're starting over. Doesn't even really matter what age you are. You're starting over. I've never done this before. How are you starting? Other than applying to your mentorship.
Yeah, put in a little plug. Let's say I was 21 and resources are limited. First thing I would do is get a mentor, right? Mm-hmm. And there's a couple ways that you can do that. You can go out and pay for one, or you can go out and partner with one. Either one will work, because the benefits of mentor, like paying for one, is like, all right, you're good. They're gonna pay for it. Like, you're gonna pay them, and they're gonna give you all the value. Now, if you partner with one, you're gonna have to, now you're splitting your deals. So that's one negative, but then it's, you're not paying up front. So there's pros and cons to either paying or bringing one on your team, but you need probably somebody to show you the ropes and just accelerate your growth faster. Because as a 21-year-old, you probably don't know nothing. Now, after I have that, a mentor in my corner, I would then start building out my lead funnels. So I would start figuring out, look out in my market I'm interested, and figure out what the demographics are and what would be the best marketing funnels to start reaching motivated homeowners. And I would start building out those funnels. I would build out a system where I can consistently find, close, and scale my portfolio, or wholesale flip the excess, whatever. But either way, I'm going to be making money. I don't leave money on the table. So for one, hire that mentor. For two, do your research, start building out your funnels. And then for three, just get well-versed in those different financing tools, because each of those tools is like, think of it as like a doctor, right? A doctor, a well-knowledge doctor, he has all these tools in his brain where he knows here are the symptoms, here's the medicine that we can apply. So when you have all these creative finance tools, you listen to your homeowners and you see what their symptoms are. Are they have a lot of debt? Do they have a recent death? What's going on? And then you can provide them a real estate solution to cure them, essentially. So it's not that we're the same, but just an analogy, there are different tools that you can use for different situations. Not one is better than the other. But if you have all those tools in your tool belt, then you can apply them and do more deals. And of course, add to your portfolio much, much quicker, kind of like how we do. So those are the three things. I'll recap: mentor, lead funnels, mastering your creative financing.
Awesome. What kind of books would you recommend someone start reading? You had 3 books to choose.
Let me think about that one. For one, everybody says it. Anything Robert Kiyosaki, especially Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think that's a good one just from a mindset perspective. Yeah. Because for me, I'm sure everybody has the same results when they read Rich Dad Poor Dad. They never even thought entrepreneurship or real estate was an option. I was still thinking I just have to work harder and, earn my money. So Rich Dad Poor Dad opened up a lot of doors for me. There is another book I like a lot called Mindset, or Carol S. Dweck, I think. She's a professor or something at Stanford in psychology or something like that. But that book is just all about your growth mindset versus your people that have I think they call it a fixed mindset, and how having that growth mindset can apply to everything, your business, your relationships, the way that you handle conflict, obstacles, and just kind of being able to realize in what areas do you have a growth mindset versus what areas do you have a fixed mindset. Will kind of help identify where you are, who you are as a person, and just at least reflect on when you are thinking kind of limited. There's a lot of self-doubts and beliefs and limitations that people tend to put on themselves. I'm not, I can't do this, or I'm not worthy of doing this. I don't deserve this. This is above who I am. For me, we had to overcome, every year we're overcoming new, just mindset limitations. It's, I'm comfortable with what we have now, and maybe I don't need more, or I can't do a commercial deal, or I can't do a hotel. It's above, it's next level type of stuff. But consistently breaking that mold to just break those limitations that we put on ourselves. I guarantee you, man, 99% of the time we're our own worst enemies. And so we just have to keep overcoming those obstacles, and then embracing that growth mindset, overcoming them. So that's a good book too. Let me think of a third for you. One that I also really liked too, which is none of these books are too real estate related actually, but the last one is I just read it. I can't remember the author, but it's called 5 Regrets of the Dying or something like that. And it was written by this woman who worked in, end of life care. And she basically interviewed all these people that were dying and compiled what they regretted most from their life. And that makes you reflect on your life pretty hard, man. Yeah, like, I mean, most people are like, I wish I would have upkept some of these relationships, and, or some people, I wish I didn't work so hard my whole life, because we get caught in the rat race. We work our whole lives. And sometimes you look back and you're like, damn, you're on your deathbed. Like, was it worth it to work that hard? I mean, apparently not, because these people are regretting it. So for me, I was like, dude, this kind of hits home, because I can be sometimes a workaholic, and I'm just grinding so hard. And so it kind of caused me to step back, reflect, and say, just remember why we're doing it. And my why is my family and having that time. So it's like, I need to spend more time with them and enjoy life a little more. Life's meant to be enjoyed, because it's so short-lived. I can't believe, for me, I'm 28 now. We're going to hit 30 soon. It's like, holy cow. I remember like last week I was 21, like in the club. It's like, dude, now having a baby, like what? So, yeah, man, that book just caused a lot of like introspection. It's like, dude, you gotta live your life. You can't just work your whole life and die. Life's meant to be enjoyed, meant for traveling, spending with loved ones. So that book, a little gut check for me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about that. My boss, who's also my cousin, he has this saying that his dad says, "Life ain't a dress rehearsal." And I know we talked about before this, we're both planners, right? We have this. Have I had lime in my beard this entire time? Dude, you're not going to tell me I got this lime in my beard? Oh God, that's jeez. All right. Well, let me learn. Is trying to find that fine line of like planning for the future, but not missing out on life right now, and then not living too much in the moment right now that you're not being smart for the future. It's such an interesting dynamic and trying to play that out. But I think you are at a place where a lot of people are not, right? Like you have this income, you're doing something you actually love, you're finding fulfillment, you're changing lives, like not even just in a providing living solutions for people, like you're providing financial solutions for people too, through the mentorship. You're providing technological solutions for people, like you're making an impact. And I think that's what a lot of people miss. Like I'm sure when people see the title of this video and they start listening, they're like, I'm going to get rich off this video. And I hope they do. Like, I hope that they take what you say. I hope they apply to your mentorship. I hope that they learn so much and grow. But I just hope that they understand that it's a lot of work and they have to find fulfillment in it, or else it's just not worth it.
I think 100%, by the way, on everything you said. One thing that somebody told me once that I found pretty profound was like, don't just chase the dollar signs. It's like, provide value. I guarantee you, if you provide the world value, the money is just going to come naturally. So don't focus on the money, because, people are going to see you as like a money grabber, a greedy person. If you focus on providing people value, making people's lives better, like for one, you are going to do it. And then for two, it's like the money's going to come too. Like it's going to flow naturally. So like you said, whether we're providing people safe and affordable housing, whether we're, disrupting the real estate industry and, making it easier for people to buy off market houses, or whether we are doing our mentorship and we're coaching people and, showing them the path down financial freedom. All those different businesses are focused on creating value in the world. And if you create value in the world, you're going to see the return on investment. The money's going to come right back at you.
Yep. I want to end on this point here. You talked about selling your story, this being yourself, striving to have a good relationship, good conversation. I've talked to a lot of people in my life, but even just on this podcast so far, you're episode number 5. I think that's awesome. Couldn't have had a better person for it. Everyone has said that if you can just have good values, good morals, good virtues, good heart, you will go so far. I mean, as you said before, there's people that are just chasing money and they'll fail. You've probably seen that happen with many people. Many of your peers have probably tried chasing it for the wrong reasons and it never works out well. So I guess we talked about before this too, and you said it in other bits of your content, like you're a people person. You like to talk, right?
Yeah,
I
you've seen that.
well, so do
Yeah.
I. Yeah. I mean, dude, your content's awesome on Instagram. I love it. I'm always happy when I see something pop up. You're like, you're basically Alex Hormozy 2.0 in the real estate world. But what would you say to people if they're trying to sell their story? Like how do they look internally and find something for them to connect to people with?
Yeah, and that's the hardest part, I think, is being able to craft your own story and selling it. Because even me, sometimes I get uncomfortable talking about myself, and like I don't want to come off as like braggy or like anything like that. So you have to kind of look at your story and look at the pieces of it that you can relate to people with the most, like kind of like family or recreation, occupation. There's a bunch of different things that you can look at in your story to be able to kind of help you sell it and connect with people. It's all about connecting with people. So for me, it's like, what values stand out to me? What makes Taylor Taylor? What parts about me do people fall in love with? And I think maybe this would be a good poll too, like figuring out like what elements people actually really fall in love with most. But I think it's, for one, it's our background. We come from humble beginnings too. We're for the people here. We've been there. We're trying to work our way up the socioeconomic ladder. For two, we come from a background of service. For me, we're big on all those big principles that you say, like service, honor, commitment, integrity. Like those are some buzzwords that stand out to me a lot. And that those same values, those same principles is how I conduct myself and how I run my businesses. We don't put up with unsavory business practices. And anybody that we work with that does, they're blacklisted from us. So those core values kind of embed themselves in just my foundation, and that's what I present. And then lastly, too, I think for me, it's like, we're family oriented too. It's like, and most people are too. It's like, you can't hate somebody that's like saying, I'm trying to make more money for my family.
Yeah.
You can't hate that guy. So, I think those elements about me, I've kind of identified that, people might fall in love with. So it's doing the same thing for your story. It's like, what about you makes you you? How does that resonate with other people? Is it your connection to family? Was it your occupation? Maybe you're, a nurse, you're a fighter. You've worked and helped people do some kind of anything else, disaster. I don't know. Like, there's really anything you could sell. Your story can be sold on multiple planes. It's just a matter of tapping into what is going to like make people warm and fuzzy about you.
Awesome. Well, dude, this has been incredible. Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for sharing so much information. I'm looking forward to having you on again. Can't wait to see where you're at next time we chat. I think it'll be, God knows, you might be the CEO of Holiday Inn or something. Like, we'll see what happens. But how can people connect with you? How can they learn more about Black Knight, your mentorship, Town Square, and get involved?
Absolutely. So, biggest thing for me is Instagram. I'm pretty active on that. It's just my name, Taylor Wing _. You'll find me, my exact face with a yellow background or something. So that's the one I'm like most active on. Black Knights, we do have our own website. We sell houses in Port St. Lucie, Florida. So you can check that out. If you're interested in selling a house in Port St. Lucie, hit me up. We'll take care of you. And same with Town Square. We have our website as well. Check us out. It's Town Square. But of course, we're in the tech field and we have to be cool. So we dropped all the vowels. So it's just TWNSQR.com. Check us out online there. So a couple websites, and then my main social media platform is Instagram. And I'm like I said, I'm pretty active. If you DM me, you'll get a response.
For sure. Well, thanks so much, man. We'll chat again here soon.
Likewise, brother. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Yeah. And like I said, next time I'll talk to you, we'll see what the updates are.
Yeah, same here. All right, man. Thanks.
All right.